It's such a good reminder of what these national security agencies and officials had to contend with. And one thing that is clear as the Trump story is something we can evaluate in the rear view mirror is that the Russian relationship, put conspiracy or anything Mueller investigated aside for a moment. But the notion of mission is reinforced again, that it was uniquely shared. Donald Trump joined the Russian disinformation mission in ways that I can't imagine the Russians thought possible. And his allies and aides became the vehicles for disseminating Russian disinformation. Elizabeth, what do we do about the fact that some of them are still running around?
That's a great point. Look, the intelligence community has assessed that Russia's disinformation efforts, going back 5-6 years now, is about sowing societal discord. It's about making us weak as a society, so inward focused with our own navel-gazing hatred for each other, that we do not have the capability to stand up to them if and when they do something that is against our national interest or a violation of international norms. They totally succeeded. Without launching a missile, without raising an army, they have been so successful in helping us just crumble in terms of being more focused on whether the Democrats are Marxist or Republicans are fascist. I mean, all we do is fight all the time about how we hate the other. And Donald Trump was instrumental. It was a factor that was happening before he came into the national spotlight, but he absolutely capitalized on that. And it is now the common dynamic of our politics, which is why last week when I was on your show, and I did get a lot of criticism for this, the idea of bipartisan compromise is so critical to counteracting what Russia's game is. We have to come back to a place where we can have civil discourse and where we can disagree respectfully. And the political opponent is not an enemy that we dehumanize, but rather somebody else with a different perspective. And we listen and we learn from that other perspective, and we try to find a common ground where we can move forward and solve our challenges. So that's important, not just because of our domestic challenges that we need to address. It's important because that creates a unity of resolve in counteracting bad actors like Russia. So when I call for that bipartisan compromise, I realize Republicans don't deserve much, but there are a handful that are still trying to be the adults in the room. And I believe that there are a handful of Democrats that recognize the importance of that compromise. President Biden is one of them. So I think it's just important that we, the people, encourage moderation in our dialogue. We can still make progress without hating one another as we're talking about things. And maybe this intelligence report helps remind us that there's really a lot at stake here in being able to get back to a civil discourse with one another, not only to prevent violence here that's happening within our homeland, but also so that we can maintain our strength in the international community and push back against bad actors like Russia.
Well, and I think, Robert Gibbs, something else it does is it will maybe inform us who the people who are working with Russia and not interested in what Elizabeth describes. Here's what the intelligence community found. A key element of Moscow's strategy this election cycle was its use of people linked to Russian intelligence to launder influence narratives, including misleading or unsubstantiated allegations against President Biden through U.S. media organizations, U.S. officials, and prominent U.S. individuals, some of whom were close to former President Trump and his administration. So I think that what Elizabeth describes is probably close to what's in Joe Biden's heart. But if you've got people who are U.S. officials, prominent U.S. individuals, some close to former President Trump and his administration, who are more loyal to Putin than to this country, I think it's worth finding out who they are and understanding where their loyalties lie.
Wholeheartedly, Nicole. I mean, I think I'm struck listening to this that the party of Ronald Reagan has now descended into basically taking the talking points of a former KGB agent and spreading them throughout the popular networks of information in the United States. And I think it is hard not to call on those individuals to account for their actions. I think we're all for unity and bipartisanship. I think we'd all like to see more of it. But I think when you have individuals both in the Oval Office, meeting in the Oval Office, that are taking known amounts of disinformation, again, peddled by a former KGB agent, into the atmosphere of this country, and quite frankly, sowing and fomenting that disconnection, that disunity, I think it's hard to move forward without calling it out. And I think there are people that we know both in these reports. I think there's some that we will learn of in the next few hours when we start to put names to some of those personas in those reports that ought to be asked these exact questions. Where do your loyalties lie? Why were you doing this? They're all going to be interesting answers because, again, I think we can't get away from the fact that this was deep Russian disinformation extended through the Oval Office and extended out of it by members of the president's administration and the president.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.